right, here we are. Welcome everybody to episode number 36 of the Hybrid Athlete Podcast. Today I'm going to get into some, I think, some pretty cool stuff. So, just I guess recapping kind of what we've been talking about the last couple months. We've been kind of going over a little bit of my diet, a little bit of kind of like what I've done to kind of like increase, gone up in weight 25 pounds, kind of in the ballpark of, I think what a lean bulk should be. In summary, so basically, I'm 15 months into kind of like ending my endurance phase, the 3 to 4 year phase of doing endurance, dealing kind of now with like, micromanaging these incremental gains I'm getting from a lean bulk. So I feel good. I mean, body weight's up to, 205, 206 fasted, post cardio, probably 203, 204, to be honest, but still closing in on 210, I think, overall. I think I'm probably going to stop at around 208 or 209, to be honest. I'm not going to wait to like settle into 210. It's probably going to take another 2 months at the rate I'm going. But I think ultimately I've gotten the most out of this bulk. I've gotten the most out of kind of, my time since doing an endurance race. I've really kind of leaned into the fact that I need to focus on, kind of like managing my caloric intake, meaning being in a caloric surplus, but not, consuming so much food that I put on extra body fat. You'll see kind of come up some of my check-in videos and some of my screenshots of my, my poses and my physique. I feel good. I mean, I'm not like, my stomach isn't as lean as I want it to be honest. I just got some stubborn belly fat that I'm going to need to try to find a way to get it to melt off creatively. Because my goal now is basically to do like a kind of a pretty intense cut. I would say like intense in terms of very strict diet, not in terms of like fewer and fewer calories, like not starving myself at 1,800 calories a day for a month or something like a bodybuilder at the end of their prep, but basically just kind of like, okay, like really like sacrifice the important like things on my diet, like additive sugars and beverages, condiments that have sugar like barbecue sauce or whatever, fat, carbs, like really managing kind of my total caloric intake to probably less than 3,000 calories most days, at least half the days, I'd say, of the week. Kind of carb cycling in that regard. But overall, again, like kind of a summary, the theme of this video is kind of a full inventory of kind of everything I've done, so far, and like what I think like reflective, kind of a reflection of, what I recommend other people should do in terms of gauging their kind of their profile, their fitness profile, so to speak. So talking about diet, okay, we got into that, and then going more into kind of like the ins and outs, the essentials of workouts, like how to kind of like vary on exercises, vary on sets, how to kind of like push through plateaus. We talked about that last week, I think. A couple of I guess micro details that really start to make a difference as you get further along in your fitness journey. So, me, for example, like I've kind of discovered some new exercises that I think that are really going to help me break through some plateaus. For core strength, for example, I'm doing more front squats now, which I think is good. It's not crazy weight. My front squat is not nearly as strong as and established as my back squat. My back squat's now finally going, higher and more into like the weight range of, okay, legitimate bodybuilder, reps and exercise and focus on, okay, today's leg day, let's really like dig into all of the the foundational leg exercises and stuff. And a couple weeks ago we talked about back, like going from high to low in terms of intensity, in terms of angles, in terms of kind of like basically getting a rep range that will kind of guarantee that you head hypertrophy, you got plenty of volume to get the blood flowing. But larger muscle groups, less reps in those larger muscle groups, that really shouldn't be a secret to anyone. I think that's kind of a, an overall kind of normal school of thought that unless you're a power lifter, you're not going to be like doing sets of 3 and resting 5 minutes. You're going to kind of get some supplemental, you're going to almost get some decent cardio in just by the rhythm and the speed of your workout overall, especially when it comes to smaller muscle groups, One other thing before I get into the content of this episode, just in a summary, is I hit on kind of like mixing in HIIT cardio and kind of like, mixing HIIT cardio with smaller muscle groups. I think that's really gotten me to like get kind of like more tone and more lean overall, kind of in my shoulders, like in my, I guess overall, like in my back too. Like I'm starting to like be more defined and like really get some good, like some good symmetry, some better just definition, and starting to see some lines that, like haven't been there before. I still got a ways to go in terms of like, legitimate kind of bodybuilder type, I guess overall presentation, overall profile. But yeah, I think that's like, kind of a good recap of what I've been doing lately, what I've been working on in the gym. Just kind of been grinding, like anyone that's kind of, into working out every week and getting their rhythm, getting kind of their, set schedule and just executing it on a week to week basis. I've been pretty relentless with it. I mean, I've had some weeks where, don't feel that great. Like, even I've taken, a day, my full day off on Sunday. I come back on Monday. I'm like, damn, things are still tight. Like I'm sore, not too much joint pain to be honest, but definitely just kind of like muscular fatigue. Like, damn, I know I'm not fully recovered, but we're just about to hit this week and hit the ground running. So, but on the other side of the coin, there's been weeks to where like, I felt like, damn, like I feel really, really good. Like, although it's Thursday, I've already hit, some 3 heavy days of working out, and I feel like I'm brand new again, even on a Thursday. So I've kind of like surprised myself, I think, in that way to where I'm not really like, and that's like the grind where like, you expect results, they're nice, but when they don't come, you probably don't realize that you are actually making, legitimate progress. And when you do kind of hit that full recovery and, your body kind of like resets and really like kind of, the tear down, the rebuild is like, fully complete, then you really kind of like reap the rewards of, okay, I've been working hard for like a full month. I can finally see my strength go up. I can feel my energy levels kind of back to a good, level. But that's all, kind of the mindset of just grinding it out. I mean, you're not supposed to feel great every day. You're not supposed to want to, be totally like, this is what I want to do right now. But the discipline, the mundane activity of getting to the gym is obviously like base level, kind of beginner level, intermediate, take care of that. And then now, like I'm saying, we're getting more advanced, more into the realm of like, okay, well, somebody who's, wants to get to that next level or break plateaus, what type of strategies can you dig out? That's why, this is an inventory. This is kind of me just kind of, I guess, spilling the beans on everything that I have done, everything I'm thinking about doing in terms of like, okay, where do I need to, fill the gaps? Where do I need to legitimately improve? Because, don't lie to yourself. Don't tell yourself like, oh, you're doing as much as you can. Don't lie to yourself and say, oh, just because I showed up, that's good enough. Or, I've been kind of like main gaining, or I've been, like doing what I'm supposed to do, but I don't see the best results when I'm satisfied with it. I personally am like 80 to 90% satisfied with everything that I've done this year so far, because this is like my full first year of like no endurance races, just dig into weightlifting, bodybuilding mindset. Don't miss a meal, don't miss sleep, be hydrated. Do everything the right way, check all the boxes, right? So when I start checking all the boxes, and I'm 6 months, we're 6 months into this year, going on the 7th month of the year, we're halfway through the year. Like my philosophy is, okay, think about every exercise, every type of workout you've been doing on a regular basis. Inventory it, and like, for example, my inventory is pretty much, when I do the math here, quick math, it's like, 5 different types of exercises. So we'll put them into chest and arms is one, probably 7 or 8 exercises. So chest and arms is one, legs is another one, back and biceps is one, shoulders and hip cardio is another one, and then like an incline chest and something else is like, a 5th or 6th version. And then straight hit cardio maybe on a day where I need to, recover from the muscle groups that I've worked that week. So you're looking at 7 different types of workouts, right? So if this were like a tree, right, and I might even post like a pic of this, here on the video when I publish it. But if I post on the left side, I post a nice tree of, okay, we branch off into 7 different types of workouts. Okay, we're in workout type 1, which is chest and triceps. Okay, like what type of what's your profile of triceps? Take an inventory. Like, which type of tricep workouts do you like pair together? Which type of tricep workouts do you avoid doing at this on the same day? For example, for triceps, for me, if I have a chest day, I'm not going to hit a heavy zigzag bar overhead skull crushers and like the push down machine, right? That's that machine where it's seated and then you kind of like dip. It's like a dip machine. So I'm not doing both those on the same day. I might do heavy Z bar curls, then into body weight dips, or I might do, the dip machine and then into like rope extensions on a cable machine. But I'm not doing both because it's kind of just like it's kind of a destruction. I mean, if it's not a complete arm day, I might do it on a full arm day, right? So that's different. But I'm kind of like, like kind of figuring out, okay, like when is it not overkill? I get a good response, and then I can kind of recover and then continue on my week. So not to mean like you can't do, heavy, 3 or 4 heavy arm exercises in one day. But like I said, the way I have I'm just taking inventory. I'm just reflecting on what I am doing. Right. So what I am doing is I'm doing that type of workout to where biceps is the same thing, to where one heavy light. So it's heavy light and then heavy light, heavy or something on chest. So chest would be like, flat bench and then incline dumbbell and then maybe like a seated machine like Smith machine or a machine press that's heavier. So heavy, light, heavy, and then go into arms the same way, heavy, light, something like that. So 5 exercises in a day, right? So, but again, if I were to do just an arm day, and I've done that before, it's like 2 heavy arm exercises. I'm doing the dip machine. I'm doing Z-bar, skull crushers. I'm doing a seated preacher curl on arms. I'm just going all out on that muscle group, which is like what I always do on leg day. But, that's kind of like where I'm at is, okay, I'm starting to think and like try to strategize. Should I do an individual muscle group? Should I stop doing arms on a day when I do back and chest and shoulders? Or should I continue to integrate arms? And, my feeling is that my arms have grown pretty decently since I've, stopped endurance and I've gotten straight into weightlifting. My feeling is that the question to ask is, does my back workout suffer? And my feeling is no, or my chest workout for that matter, but the feeling is because, like I just said, I only do one heavy kind of arm, isolated movement. And it always comes after the like 95% of that major muscle group workout. So let's go through a chest day, shall we? So on a chest day, like I said, it's flat bench, 5 to 6 sets. And like I said in the previous video, usually for me, it's like 4 or 5, maybe 6, but usually 4 or 5 sets per exercise. 4 exercises, typically maybe 5 when it's like this, chest and arms. But we'll go to flat barbell bench press. Then we go into incline dumbbell, and then we go to like a machine press. And after that, I'm 14 sets into my muscle group, right, for chest. Then I hit arms. So I'm already like pre-fatigued and pretty much hypertrophy. Like it's just like lower. I'm looking for like just to push blood to get the best pump I can from arms. And chest day is primarily triceps. It's not much biceps. So that's why I hit triceps on chest day. It goes into the whole push pull. But I wouldn't call my schedule push pull because I do more than just push pull legs. I do like I said, a variety of 6 pretty much on a weekly basis. It varies by like exercise selection, but that's what I'm saying. We're going through this tree, right? So we got, we basically got chest there at the top, and then we go back. So back and biceps, same structure. 3 to 4, typically 4, sometimes 3, but typically 4, exercises for back. And then we go into biceps. Then we go into maybe preacher curls, one heavy, one light, preacher curls, cable curls, something like that, or dumbbell curls, hammer curls, whatever it is. So kind of mixing that up. So, those are like the 2 kind of upper body builder days, right? And then leg day is always just like typically the same, where I might supplement with like, on my second leg day, it's like pretty light. It's like calves and quads usually. So it's like quad machine and calves. But leg day is no joke. For me, it's pretty destructive. Like I definitely, like, for example, I did legs on Wednesday. It's Saturday afternoon. I'm still sore. I'm definitely need at least a couple of more days of recovery. It's usually 5 days. I feel like if I've really torn down the muscle, 72 hours I think is like the standard. But I feel like if I've worked super hard on leg days, it takes at least 4 days. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. So leg day is the all I do is legs. I don't do anything else. I don't do any other upper body part. I do hamstrings, quads, calves, squats, and deadlifts. So I mix like a lower back movement at the beginning of that. So I treat deadlifts almost like a dynamic warm up, to where I'm not maxing out. I'm not lifting the heaviest sets, but I really got the blood flowing when I go into my back squat. And my back squat is like, the big piece of that workout, to where that's where I do slightly more volume and more sets. I do like pretty much 7 hard working sets on squat, and then I go into machine work to finish. So that's like the theme of what I do, I guess. I'm like 3 or 4 definitely intense, high, high effort, higher intensity, primary exercises for that day, and then 1 or 2 smaller exercises, smaller movements. But when I get to that point, I don't really count it as like a working movement, as an exercise. Like I don't count the bicep hammer curls that I do on back day as a movement or an exercise for that day. I count the 3 or 4 exercises for back that I do. But again, just to like, I guess, continue building my smaller muscle groups and like kind of like, shape my body how I want it. I like having like well-developed arms, and I'm going to keep pushing for that as I go through like, developing everything else. So I think like that's my inventory, and that's like what my status is now. Am I saying that I'm going to continue that way? No, but I am saying that that's how I'm doing it now. And I feel like it's been pretty successful for me. Everyone has their different way, but I think the way that I've set it up is like it requires high effort to execute and get through it every week. Meaning after I hit that leg day midweek on a Wednesday, typically I go into Thursday and I do some hit cardio, and it's almost like active recovery for your legs, right? Like if I do boxing after a heavy leg day, like my legs are already sore. Like I'm it's mostly all upper body, but I'm not trying to knock someone out in the ring, so I don't really give a shit that my legs are sore, right? So it's kind of like what's your focus, like what's your goal here, like my goal is to make myself look better, to like challenge myself, to build my strength, to feel good and accomplished, especially after every week that I work out. And I'm doing that definitely, but I'm getting to the point to where like, okay, now I want to go from like advanced to like, borderline elite. And that step takes a lot of work, but it's 2 to 3% gains over a month. It's a lot of work just to make a small gain. So, obviously doing it naturally, no drugs are involved, but I think inventory too, it kind of like goes into like what supplements are you taking. So everyone should take creatine, definitely. I take B vitamins, I take iron, I take zinc, I take magnesium. So single ingredient supplements, and then I'm doing like a few other I guess supplements that will like beta alanine is a good one to like improve blood flow. Beta alanine is pretty much a common ingredient in all pre-workouts, stem pre-workouts. So you get like 200, 250, maybe 300 grams of caffeine for the more intense ones. You get your beta alanine, you get kind of your micronutrients. You probably get some, a little bit of like, artificial sweetener obviously in there, which isn't too damaging as long as you don't like consume pre-workout and 15 packets of artificial sweetener for your coffee that you're addicted to for most of us. So but I think like overall like the kind of the supplement is pretty much water, and then all those supplements I just named, and then obviously good whole food, high quality food. So maybe on another episode we can get into like more deeper inventory of what type of nutrition I think really is drives performance and helps you recover. I'm a fan of kind of like intermittent fasting at least a couple days a week, to where I might not eat for 16 to 20 hours just to like burn some excess body fat. But for the most part, I'm on point with like 4 or 5 meals a day. 4,500 calories is pretty much where I'm at, for it's like a slight, I would say, main gaining at 4,500 calories, and then dropping down to 32 to 30, probably 28 to 3,400 calories in this cut phase. So basically, probably going to be able to lose about a pound of body weight every week at least, probably more, 1 to 2 pounds of body weight. But I want to keep my strength up. So, part of this inventory that I'm doing is thinking, okay, I've never really done a cut before to where I'm eating less food, but I still want to work out hard and perform. So it's always kind of been like, well, I'm losing strength because I'm running. Like I never focused on caloric intake. So I'm trying to balance. Basically, this is essentially what bodybuilding is. It's a new zone for me, because it's always been like consume up to 5,000 calories and do as much as you can, and burn yourself out and just kill yourself. So this is kind of like new territory to where it's still focused on recovery, consume less calories, maybe do less cardio to keep muscle growth, to keep yourself in an anabolic state, and then really hyper focused on like, okay, what type of adjustments? Like maybe I haven't lost any weight in the last 10, 15 days. Maybe I should make an adjustment and consume even fewer calories, or vice versa. I feel weak. I don't feel like I can sustain. So if I'm in a 600 to 700 calorie deficit, is that too much? I think everyone's body's different, but I think there's like a template. It's your job to kind of find the successful strategy that will kind of like enable you to feel the best while losing a little bit of weight, but not while losing too much strength or performance. So I'm definitely going to take this slow and nice and easy. It's kind of the way I've done the lean bulk. It's kind of just like, okay, basically. So even if you don't put on weight for a month, I was like maintaining. I didn't. My weight didn't increase for like 2 or 3 months, to be honest, but I felt like I was eating enough food. I felt like I was recovering. I didn't want to put on excess body fat. So it was kind of like slow and steady wins the race. That's the approach I took. So I think I've done it the right way to get to this first cycle of bulk cuts. I might do it differently the next time. I might force more food. I might force myself up to 210, 215 pound body weight, see how I feel, just deal with kind of the excess body fat. But I still, I feel pretty lean for, being the heaviest I've ever been in my life. I've never weighed 210. I'm pretty much at 206 right now, maybe borderline 207 on a good day or on a heavy day. But I think that's, I'm pretty much at the cusp of, okay, now I'm going to cut. I'm going to lose 8, 10, 12 pounds, maybe get as low as 195 again, and then kind of balloon back up and probably go from 195 to 215. So try to put on 20 pounds over the next 9, 10, 11 months again. Probably, half body fat, maybe 10, 12 pounds body fat, 6 to 8 pounds of muscle, ideally, if I really, really, do execute this, to nearly to near perfection. Again, doing it naturally. So it's hard to put on more than 5, 6, 7 pounds of muscle in a year if you're training, training that, natural and basically just, training properly and stuff and eating the right food. So I'll probably save more diet stuff for the next one. I'll definitely give a good update on kind of how I feel once I start the cut. But I'm anticipating starting the cut before the end of July. Definitely, I'm going to give myself like a couple of weeks just to maybe do slightly less cardio. Add on another pound or two, just kind of give myself a cushion before I start this because it's the first time I've done it. But I do anticipate being nice and lean. Like losing some body. Definitely, the stomach is where I want to like lose the most body fat in this cut. I don't really, like I said, I think I can do it if I did keto last year. I'm not going to do keto. I'm just going to do caloric deficit, keep protein high, just consume less, basically less fat. Pretty much is what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to stick with carbs right now. I might do keto in the next cut phase, or kind of maybe like a maintain or just like a body composition project that I do in 2026 when I'm kind of at a higher overall body weight and I feel comfortable in allowing my body weight to fluctuate without really trying to micromanage it or do anything that's kind of major. But this is like my focus now. So my goal is like by October or so, I've executed the 6 to 8 week cut. Again, starting basically in August, we'll say end of July, early August, just to be safe, and then going for pretty much 2 months to the beginning of October. And then beginning of October, when we're the lightest we've been this year, we're going to shoot back up through into the spring. We're going to shoot back up to like 215, probably not 220 because that's big. That'd be over a 20-pound jump in 8, 10 months. But I will say I feel confident that this time next summer I'll probably be 215 to 216. Pretty about as lean as I am now. Basically just 6 to 8 pounds heavier. Hopefully quality muscle that's on there. So that's all I got for this week. But thanks for watching. Do your own inventory. I recommend it. And obviously there's plenty of experts out there that know different types of exercises for a specific muscle group. If you feel like a specific muscle group is lagging, definitely adjust it. You don't need more than like I said, 6 or 7, in my opinion, 6 or 7 different types of workouts, and then within those 6 or 7 workouts, pick 3, 4, 5 fundamental exercises. Go, track them, gauge them, benchmark them, do what you got to do, and just give yourself no option but to make improvements and make those gains. So thanks, guys. Talk to you next time.